Hello and welcome to another Total War Warhammer 2 multiplayer battle. Today we have a man versus undead 2v2 and we're playing on the map Ancient Dragon Cave, if you didn't already notice, with this giant dragon skeleton and the cave below it. Well, is it a cave though? Let's take a look. Well, it is a cave, technically. And yeah, we're playing as the Empire and Midland against the Vampire Counts and the Von Karsteins. I think these are the Vampire Counts armies, and these are the Von Karsteins, while these are Vampire Counts too. Let's get to the deployment. In the front line we have a group of 7 zombies, one being the Tithe, and behind that for the Vampire Counts we have 2 units of Cairn and 3 units of Graveguard. And for the leadership we have Manfred von Karstein on a Hellsteed, not a zombie dragon but a Hellsteed, probably out of money reasons. And then, wait, is this one of the... No, this is already of the von Karstein, as well as these Crypt Ghouls. So we have 1 unit of Crypt Ghouls as well as a Corpse Cut with an Unholy Lodestone. Then Vampire of Shadows with Melkor's Mystifying Miasma, the Penumbral Pendulum, and Enfeebling Foe. And then 2 units of Graveguard, one being the Sternsman, as well as a Mortis Engine. And a Strigoi Ghoul King on a Terrorgeist. Yay. And behind that we have 1 unit of Blood Knights. And here we have another unit of Blood Knights, as well as a Banshee. And then 2 units of Crypt Horrors. And I think that's it for the Vampire Counts deployment. We as the Empire... Oh, no, we have 1 unit of Dire Pack Vanguard deployed here, back in the forest. Then for our deployment, I'll start with my allies deployment. We have 1 unit of Outriders with grenade launchers here on the edge of the map in the forest. Then 1 unit of Demigriffin Knights with halberds. And the Silver Bullets, also kinda deployed off from the main formation. And then 1 unit of pretty cheap Empire Knights. It's good that they are cheap because they have a good amount of armor. And yeah, still decent shock cav. And for the, well, main part of the army we have a Luminarch of Hish, which will be pretty useful against this... Where do we have it? The Mortis Engine and basically all big targets. That's where the Luminarch of Hish is pretty dangerous. And then 3 units of Crossbowmen, as well as a front line of 3 units of Swordsmen, and 1 unit of Spearmen, as well as a Witch Hunter here on the flank, and Karl Franz, Boris Todbringer, not Karl Franz, on his Griffin. Yeah, and for my army I've deployed 2 troops of cavalry here, one being the Knights of the Blazing Sun. They got cost reduction, so I wanted to bring them once in a while, also because I brought a kind of fire-themed build. To burn the undead, the filthy undead. Yeah. And 1 unit of basic Empire Knights. These 2 are deployed here in the forest, so they are hidden. And yeah, for my front line I brought 4 groups of Flagellants, one being the Tattersouls, so a lot of holding power and a lot of offensive power to take apart any zombie that comes close. And here on the flank we have 1 unit of Spearmen with shields. I brought the shielded variant not because I feared arrows, but because I had some money left over and it gives them a hefty boost to defense, so that's great. They are even more defensive then. Back here we have 2 units of Halberdiers, as well as a Bright with it. And then another unit of the Silver Bullets, just because you bring them when you fight against undeads. And you usually bring them if you want to have a good ranged unit. But at some points I think it's better to bring actual handgunners. But fighting against Undeads, they might have can wraiths, which they brought, so yeah, it's always a good idea to have this unit with magic damage or something that allows you to deal magic damage, while my army doesn't especially need it, because I have this nice warrior priest here with nothing but the banner of the eternal flame, which basically gives all units around him in a 40-meter radius flaming attacks as well as plus 6% melee damage, so that's great. And then we have Volkmar's Grim here on his War Shrine of Sigmar, with basically all his spells, even banishment. And the whole idea of this build is to have a lot of fire damage. Initially I wanted to bring a Hellstorm rocket battery, but I thought if they have cavalry they just circle around and kill it. And it's not that good against armored units like the Graveguard, and non-armored units my flagellants can take apart. Like they stab on paper mache, so yeah. I brought the Flame Wizard, which basically has this, how's it called? Kindle Flame ability. Every time he casts for 15 seconds, any unit gets a fire weakness, which basically buffs up any unit with fire damage against these units. And yeah, with my Warrior Priest, a lot of these units can get fire damage. So let's start, right? Oh no, I nearly forgot. As I did then in the battle, sorry for the little spoiler here, I have one unit of Stolen's Revenge Vanguard deployed here in the edge. Yeah, against Undead, that's actually a bad idea to Vanguard deploy them at the edge of the map. Against any nation with artillery, I would say that's okay, but against vampire counts, they would have taken us too long to get to the conflict, and yeah, I kind of forgot about them, so they didn't even get to march at an early speed, at the early point of battle. So let's start. At this point we have the Dire Pack moving forward. I did not notice them yet, even though I could have seen them. I will notice them. Sorry. I will notice them around here, because they spot my knights, and I'm wondering, why are they visible now? And then my knights get back recharged, which is not good for them. Yeah, and here we have the Dire Pack coming out of the forest. And at this point I notice, and I'm like, crap, I have to countercharge, and that's basically the countercharge. Thing is, my knights are all big units, while the Dire Pack are small units, and they got their charge off, so they're doing a lot of good damage here to my knights. And I'm bringing my halberdiers over because I see this massive large unit blob here. And at some point we should have a little firing of the Luminarch here going on. Yeah, there it is. Basically taking out the Mortis engine, well, taking it to half of their life points. And here we have managed to rout out the Dire Pack, which did a good amount of damage to my cavalry, my very costly cavalry. And they get healed once again with the Invocation of Nehek. Also, this Strigoi Ghoul King brought all the spells, so that's a lot of different spells here for the Von Karsteins. And here we have a second shot of the Luminarch of Fish, as well as a shot of my silver bullets going down into this Mortis engine, which then finally kills it. Here we have my flagellants charging, and I made a little mistake here. You will have to watch out for this, because I kinda lined up my troops, which is a bad thing, because we had a little pendulum spell of the Shadow Vampire going down here. Sadly I didn't hold here. I probably should have hold here for all these blob here to go into, well, my Spearman and my charge defense. Here we have a few Blood Knights grazing the side of my halberdiers here. And I try to countercharge them with my 2 groups of knights. Even though they are blood knights, they are in the forest, so they will get a minus 80%. And that should, in comparison, basically bring them down a bit and help my troops, which usually then have a bit less of an attack bonus here. Also, we have got the main engagement here with the basic Vampire Counts player, and sadly he piled in all his units, so they are a basic massive blob, all held up by this one group of swordsmen, which mostly fights zombies here. I mean, they will win, but they won't hold for long. Here we have a little sniping going on of Boris against Manfred. Managed to get away a bit, but then get shot down by the archers, maybe? No. The thing is, on a zombie dragon, you can't really beat Boris. Without a zombie dragon, you can't really fight Boris here in the air. And you usually want to keep him moving constantly, or else he will basically, die. Here we have a little battle going on with the Striggery Ghoul King, who tried to snipe Volkmar the Grim, and these Crypt Horrors and Blood Knights going through together with the Dire Pack, catching my and my allies' remaining knights, which I'm going to support by bringing in the Warrior Priest, since all these units have a fire weakness, at least the Crypt Horrors, and the Banshees aren't too well when fire is involved either, and I'm casting a little banishment here, which, well, didn't do too much. Sadly, I retreat the Warrior Priest here, because I'm stupid. And here we have it, the Undeads finally broke through and are in the backlines of my ally. But at this point I've dealt with a lot of their troops, of the one Carstein troops here. And as you can see, with Volkmar the Grim in here, these Crypt Horrors are holding out pretty well. And at this point we have a backcharge here, a little flaming head going off. I have casted this in this direction to turret my ally, which was in retrospect a bad idea, because he only had this Demigriffins here. And Demigriffins don't have a high unit count, so they don't take as much damage from AoE attacks. So the burnings had got through my troops a lot. And at this point I'm basically ignoring these corpse guards, because, well, why should I fight against them? And here we have Boris going against this Banshee, dealing not too much damage, but I'm going to support him with some Halberdiers, Flagellants, to basically surround this blob. And with a burning head doing a lot of damage here to these undeads, they start to crumble. Now they are getting shot up in the back by these handgunners and stuff, and got charged by these Demigriffin Knights. So now they are all crumbled away. Let's take a look at the kill count here. My Bright Wizard got a really good amount of kills. Volkmar the Grim and my Warrior Priest didn't get too many, but they were mostly fighting these Blood Knights and stuff. So that was to be expected that they didn't get too many kills. My Flagellants basically took apart these zombies, which was to be expected. But don't let yourself, don't let it fool yourselves. These kills are mostly zombies, so yeah, they are meant to die. And for my Spearmen and Halberdiers, they did a good job at holding off these bigger units. This Spearmen got nearly obliterated, but they held the line there for a good amount of time, which gave my Flagellants time to clear up the front line, and that worked well. And it mostly worked well because the Mortis engine wasn't alive anymore. These things can be a massive pain in the ass if they are kept alive, yeah. My Sterling's Revenge didn't see any action at all because I forgot about them and then moved them slowly to my front line. Usually it's not a good idea to do ranged Vanguard deployment against vampire counts, I guess, but my idea was that I don't want them in my backlines. I actually wanted to deploy the silver bullets in their backlines too, but I forgot that they don't have Vanguard deployment, just Stalk. So yeah, that's what happened there. The thing is, if I come from their rear, their front line will be engaged and their cavalry will be far away from my archers. I usually like to do that with basic Deepwood Scouts and Shivers Deepwood Scouts and Way Watchers, basically Vanguard deploy them and then have my troops come from behind when their cavalry is basically away. And that usually works pretty well, and it works well against any artillery crew because most people expect cavalry to flank around, not archers. So yeah, that's the whole idea behind them. But sadly, if you are occupied with a lot of other stuff and don't have a special use for these guys, you sometimes forget about them. But that's just the risk of Vanguard deployment. And my silver bullets helped shut down the Hell Cannon with the last volley they fired, so yeah, good for you guys. And then the Empire Knights didn't, and the Knights of the Blazing Sun didn't do too well. I mean, they were off against a lot of Blood Knights and the Dire Pack, a lot of anti-large, which they didn't go trade too well with, especially these Dire Packs who rear charged them in the forest, and that hurts pretty much, as you could see. And for my ally, Boris Todbringer got one kill. That was probably Manfred von Garstein, but he was on sniping duty, mostly was charging single units and were doing pretty well with that. And for the Witch Hunter, we've got some kills. I don't know what he was shooting at, but probably big targets, so yeah, good for him. And the whole front line got a good amount of kills, well, except the Spearman, but once again, it's a lot of zombies, but they managed to hold these overpowering might for a long time, since the Vampire Counts player made the mistake to pile in the units and not surround them, and basically take out the archers or something, which also were on sniping duty, but were also firing some rounds at these zombies. And that silver bullets also got a good amount of kills. I think they are pretty good against these ghost units here. And yeah, they are just a quite decent pick. Well, they're basically good against all the elites that the Tomb Kings can bring. Vampire Counts can bring. Then these Outrider Grenadiers got a lot of kills and didn't even get too much damage, but I don't know what happened to them later on. And the Luminarch got 67 kills and killed the Luminarch and sniped at a lot of the other lords like the Strigoi Ghoul Kings, so yeah, good use of the Luminarch there. And the cavalry did pretty good. These Demogryph Knights basically brought all these units to crumble with their final back charge and rear charge. Darn it! I'm already, you know what I mean. So whatever. And these Empire Knights helped keep down these Crypt Horrors and some of the Blood Knights. So that was great. For the Vampire Count units, the zombies didn't do too much. They got some kills, but not too many, but that was to be expected. I mean, they are zombies, and you mainly want them to soak up the damage. The Spearmen didn't see too much action either. I think they were forgotten there in the forest where I initially deployed my knights, so yeah. And the Strigoi Ghoul King got distracted a lot and got drawn out of the sniping action he tried to do, and that's why Volkmar the Grim was so healthy at the end of the battle. I mean, he was trying it from time to time, but not really seriously, so yeah, that's why my heroes survived as they did. And then we have these ghouls here, which fared off against some flagellants and then run past them right into my rifle line, so that was a good action there. And For the Graveguard and Swordsman, I really wonder why they didn't fare too well against these Flagellants. Even though they have a high attack, they should still be able to hold some of their damage in, especially with their high defense skill. And if I would have my Warrior Priest near the Flagellants that fought the Sternsmen, that would have been bad for them because they have regeneration, and with that comes an innate 20% fire weakness. So that would have hurt them a lot. But still, so they got a few more kills, and yeah, that's basically it for that part. These Blood Knights were probably the Blood Knights that killed my knights initially, so even if their kill count is low, they killed a lot of, did a lot of good damage and killed some important units. So props to them. Kind of miscalculated that. I mean, they got some damage back, but on the initial charge, they clearly won against these guys. And then we have the Dire Pack here, which did a good rear charge at the beginning and then was running around with a basically blob. And yeah, even though it got low amounts of kills, once again, it mostly killed big targets, so great work with the Dire Pack there. And then we have 2 units of Corpse Guard. They didn't get any kills, which is not really that weird. But their abilities kept their zombies alive, and I kind of got distracted by them once and had one of my Flagellants stick to them for a longer time. So yeah, that's what Corpse Guard do. They distract you. Especially if they're not paired with really strong troops, or a lot of really strong troops. You can basically ignore them. They're slow, they won't hold with your troops if they're running away, and yeah, stuff like this. And sadly the Mortis engine got sniped, well, luckily for us, but sadly for the Vampire Counts player, because it's a huge chunk of money here for this army, and I think they really needed it for their front line. Even though it wasn't a real regeneration build, it could have worked pretty dangerously. And then for the other vampire player, Manfred von Carstein only got 0 kills. Mostly because he was sniped by Boris before he could see any real action. So yeah, that's pretty sad for them. The only thing he could have done was keep Boris busy by flying around. He should have been faster than Boris, but that also requires a lot of micromanagement to not get caught and stuff like this. And then the Banshee run around with the cavalry blob of their Blood Knights, so basically it supported them pretty good. And as you can see, they got a lot of kills, even though they were fighting in the forest, so yeah, as you can see, Blood Knights are dangerous. Who knew? Yeah. And then the Crypt Horrors didn't get too many kills, they run into these spearmen. And there the Blood Knights got probably the most of kills, damn kill stealers. And they were fighting in the forest, so that wasn't really their specialty, and then they were off against some cavalry. So yeah, they didn't really fight their ideal targets, and there were no real armored infantry troops there, so yeah, that's kind of sad for them. And for the melee blob here, as I already said, it would have been better if they shifted their troops around, especially these fast cannon wraiths, and had taken care of their archer line, my allies' archer line, instead of basically piling in these troops after troops, and maybe just have some of the Graveguard go around, basically eat up their flanks and just go through it. Because Graveguard is still pretty darn dangerous. And with his Khan Wraiths together, they are just evil. Yeah. If you want to mix in troops, you can mix in the Khan Wraiths into these zombies. To basically have a mixture of physical and... well, not physical, but you know what I mean. Have some ethereal units support the physical things of the zombies and still deal some damage while the Graveguard circles around. Even though they are not fast, they should be still able to do that. Yeah. Also, I don't really like zombies. But this is more of a personal thing. I think the 300 gold you pay on a unit of skeleton warriors is still better invested than 150 for a unit of zombies in most cases, unless you're doing a thematic build. I really liked that they had the big front line of zombies and basically a zombie invasion. But still, yeah, zombies are a bit slow and don't really do anything in melee, even if you buff them up. So that's a bit sad. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this battle, and have a nice day. Bye!